Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
So this tea in the streets kind of has to do with flights. So there's actually two that I wanted to do, but I thought one would be more appropriate for like the men. The other one was about injections and fillers and stuff, but we'll talk about that another day. But this one is about flights. And Justin, you talking about the issue with your flight I was like, okay, that's a perfect segue into this one. So an American Airlines flight, these people were flying domestically from Miami to Puerto Rico, and something happened and they had to do an emergency landing in the Bahamas. And this video is like 5 minutes long, so I couldn't do the whole thing. He goes on and on and on about like all these things that happened. But like basically they get stuck in the Bahamas, but these people were flying domestically. So a lot of them didn't have their passports. So they're not letting them leave the Bahamas, but they're not letting them do anything. They can't leave the airport, but they also can't leave the terminal. Like it was crazy.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's going to tell you a
really
little.
happened?
Yeah, this happened like last week. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Hi. So we're on an American Airlines flight number, what was it? 2421. We left from Puerto Rico at what, 5:30 p.m.? We were on that flight for max 2 hours. We flew around in a circle for about 30 minutes because of weather. Then the pilot decided, hey, we need to land in the Bahamas. Puerto Rico to the U.S. is a domestic flight. This is a different country. We land here. The pilot or somebody at the front of the plane asks us, who here has their passport, who doesn't? Lo and behold, everybody does, or everybody does not, because everybody expected to go from the U.S. to the U.S. We land in the plane. We're on the plane sitting on the tarmac for like, what, 2 hours, something like that? We got off the plane. Turns out the pilot can't do overtime or something, so they had to get off the plane. We get off here. Of course, everybody probably already assumed we can't leave the terminal because we're not allowed to be here. Like we're most people, we're illegally here. We can't leave. Not only can we not leave the airport, we can't leave the terminal. We can't do anything. After about hour 5, everyone's gone to where I'm at now, pulling doors. People have dogs, older people. Everybody here is running off like what, 6-7+ hours of just no food, just brisk off cookies and sodas and freezing.
Wow.
And he even mentioned, so when they deplaned, they didn't bring all their stuff off. And this one guy wanted to get back on to get his medication, and they wouldn't let him get back on to get his medication either. Not knowing that they'd be sitting there for hours and hours and hours.
You know, first of all,
rules are rules.
Ain't no rules. First of all, you better rule me back to where I was going. That happened to me. Of course, I wasn't out of the country, but we had to kind of fly around because we couldn't land. And so they ended up taking us to San Antonio. And of course, we get to San Antonio because the overtime, the pilot couldn't fly anymore. And they're like, well, we're going to see if we can get another pilot in. Well, that didn't happen. So then it's several hours later. Now we got to find you our place to stay. I couldn't imagine being stuck
at the airport
without a passport in a country that I shouldn't be in anyway. I mean, I can imagine the fear that these people have. And then you have elderly people there. Come on. American, you got to do better.
Step it up
because there are some rules. You shouldn't have let them off the plane. You should have gotten food on there and then get somebody in there somebody else to fly them. That's just hard.
Also, there's only so many people in the world that could make a trip to the Bahamas into a nightmare.
Right.
An American happened to be one of them.
I thought international laws would apply where, it's like an emergency landing, right? That they should let them have water, food, whatever they need, because again, it's international waters.
That's what I call
not their fault they're there.
I call rigid. Being real rigid. You know, this is the rule and we can't deviate from the rule.
Sometimes we forget that this is all people. Right? We're people.
Human beings.
The machine takes over and people get the machine mentality. You forget that we're people.
Human beings.
And you see it all the time, even in our everyday life, people take their job so serious. And and it's just like the rules are the rules. I mean, come on.
Those people showed up on an airplane. They're not a threat to anything in the Bahamas. They already went perimeter of security.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. I hope we got to get an update.
So
on that.
I tried to find an update. It was weird because like all this information on like different TikTok accounts. But that guy was the main one kind of speaking on.
He spoke well.
Yeah. He did an update and basically saying that he got a refund, but not even like a full refund. And people are saying he should have gotten paid.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard horror stories too and this is why I say I would never fly with my animals, but you never know what circumstances are going to make it to where you have to fly with pets. But like this one girl, she was flying somewhere, it was like way far away, like Singapore or something, like in the other side of the world. And she was flying and she had multiple stops because of how far she was flying. Well, she got there and they told her she couldn't bring her cat. But she couldn't see her cat. So her cat was flying for 24 hours. And then they had to turn around and fly the cat back for another 24 hours in a cage, no bathroom, no food.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
And people have gotten their animals lost before. And like, it's one thing to lose your stuff. Like that's already an inconvenience.
But that's your child.
Literally. Yeah.
Wow.
That is not okay.
That's not okay.
So what's the moral to the story?
Don't fly American.
For a while, you know.
I don't know if it's just American. I mean, I just saw an airplane fall out of the sky.
Yeah,
That's once in a while for American. It's every day for Southwest.
America wants to sponsor a segment, then we
There we go.
Right.
Yeah.
But right now, American, we're saying
And Quentin said, what kind of compensation would suffice after something like that?
Yeah.
Because do you even want a free flight from American if they did that to you? You know what I'm saying?
I think if you put me up in a nice hotel in the Bahamas and give me a day or two on the beach, then I'm okay.
Yeah. We could talk about something.
All inclusive though.
There you go.
Food too.